Welcome back inside the FITAID Lounge, everyone, to the Morning Chalk Up Show presented by FITAID. Tommy Marquez here, alongside a very special guest, Annie Thorisdottir. Now, Annie, thank you so much for joining me today, first off.
My pleasure.
And
wish I couldn't.
I know. That makes both of us. I know. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. So, probably one of the first times in a long time we're not seeing you on the competition floor for the final events. Can you tell me what that process has been like in terms of the last 24 hours and kind of coming to terms with that?
Ooh, it's really hard to say. It's I feel like a little bit empty.
Mm-hmm.
I woke up so many times tonight and couldn't fall asleep again because I'm like, is this just a bad dream? Like, this shouldn't be possible. I feel like I haven't done that much. My body is still like, yeah, I did 6 events and that's less than I usually do in like 2-3 days of training.
Yeah.
So it's really hard. I think I'm still just trying to process this. Like, it's so odd not to be on the floor anymore. It's so odd not to have to show up for a briefing, get those butterflies in the stomach and get to compete. If I'm still processing. Like I said, hopefully it's going to be easier to process when the games are actually over.
No doubt. And so we talked about this a little bit before the show. Not a lot has been known during this week. The workouts have been kind of kept secret. The schedule's kind of been kept secret. Briefings have kind of come and go, on the fly. You've been doing this a long time, longer than pretty much any other athlete in the field. Did you feel that as an athlete that was a similar case? Were you guys just kind of kept in the dark like the rest of us in terms of the schedule and stuff like that?
Yeah, definitely. It was the same. We got to know. I was on the Morning Chalk Up and they were media sites trying to figure out what was going to happen. Like Dave Castro, refresh. I have to say though, it's quite comfortable.
Oh, okay.
Not knowing. I enjoy knowing the events before so that you can prep a little bit and prep a little bit mentally, but it was kind of easy to go to sleep because you didn't have to think about the events. You just knew something was coming up the day after, and I didn't really mind. I feel like it's been one of the most relaxed CrossFit Games, apart from the cutting obviously, but in terms of the events, because so many times before the games we've been held 2-3 days leading up to the games on different briefings, testing the bikes, testing the swim, testing the paddle boards, like testing all these different, like the jump ropes, links, all of those things that take a really long time. And like I said, all the briefings, and it was the build up into the games was probably the most comfortable we've ever had, because you had the day pretty much for yourself to get this ready. Yeah,
and so kind of before we dive into it a little bit more, the programming as a whole, if you just look at the workouts so far, what are your thoughts about the workouts that have shown up at the CrossFit Games?
I think the workouts are actually really good. I have nothing bad to say about the programming. I think it's really fun events that we've had at the games this year. We've had a lot of CrossFit, and I've really enjoyed the programming.
And then so now kind of digging into that, the programming is great, but the sequence very much makes a difference here. Is there anything that maybe, I mean, you've been involved for so long, is there anything you would have liked to see changed in terms of maybe the order and how things were arranged?
I think, for example, the first event, I was really nervous about what they would do in terms of the first event. I thought it was a great first, since they had to be cut after the first event. I thought it was a really good, well-balanced event there, because you had a little bit of breathing, you had some gymnastic skill, and you had a barbell in there, just making sure that people could actually move weights. So that was a good, like, as a first cut event. Then, like I said, I really like the other events too, but also, like you said, now all of a sudden the order of the events really, really matters for the people to make it through. I'm not going to say the right people to make it through, but the order of the events is going to determine who's going to make it through at the CrossFit Games. And like going down to 10 people after 6 events is really harsh. It's possible. I think it would have been cooler to have more of us through Saturday, have more events, so more points to be gained. But I think it's definitely possible to find the right people. But then I would have wanted to see at least one heavy barbell in there, like at least one strength event that would be accompanied. Maybe instead of that sprint event as that final cut, having that the clean event as the final cut. Because we have seen, for example, regionals, that's 6 events that we get, and I feel like that can be very well balanced competition. I usually want more events than 6 at regionals, but that was how it is, and I feel like the right people always made it through. I will take nothing away from the girls that made it through, the top 10 that made it through. Really, really talented athletes, and full respect for everyone that's here. But it was hard not to get to do more tests. Test a little bit more before you made that big cut. Dude, I worked on my swimming with a coach for a year. It was hard to see them go out.
Oh man, I feel bad for you, because I know you wanted to put that to the test. Oh man, but all right. So now, unfortunately, your CrossFit Games weekend is over. You're still here though. You're having a good time with some fans. I know there's still time to process, but right at the moment, what's your kind of big takeaway from 2019?
Obviously, I'm not leaving, because I still have people that I support that are on that floor. Catherine's one of my best friends, and I will support her no matter what. Björgvin's my training partner. We've been prepping for the games for the past 5 weeks together, and I'm excited to see where he's going to end up. And I support all of the athletes that are still there. I have to admit, it was hard for me though to come, because I'm jealous. I want to be on that floor. I feel like I'm supposed to be on that floor. It's too tight, but I also feel like I did this a little bit to myself. Even making the cut down to 10 after 6 events, I should never let myself be on that side. I should not be on that side. I had one really bad event, and that cost me this year. I think being on the right side, just making it through, I would have been able to climb a lot higher, especially with the events that are left. But yeah, I'm still gonna be here. I feel like the fans that are here, the people that are here, I appreciate their support so much. So my parents are still gonna come and watch the games. I wanna be here. I wanna be present. I'm not ready for 2019 games to be over. Hopefully once the games are over, dust will settle, and I'll get ready and make a game plan. You need to figure out how you're gonna train for the next year.
Yeah, very quickly too, because the Open's right around the corner.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a lot of time until the Open starts, but yeah, it's been fun. We were at the Reebok booth. I've never gotten to experience the games like this before, so I'm trying to take a little bit of positive. I led some people through a workout, jumped in on the final round because I still feel like I need to train a little. Yeah. So it was fun. Yeah, me, Brent, and Melner, we got to play a little bit with the people that are here, and yeah.
Making the most out of it.
Making the most out of it. And I get to come on the morning checkup show and talk to you, man.
And we are so happy to have you here. Annie, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And speaking of Annie taking advantage of getting to hang out a little bit, Annie, Brent, was it Vellner as well?
Yeah.
Yep. All got a chance to lead a bunch of athletes through a workout, even hopped in at the end. Our very own Brittany Klein was checking it out herself. Take a look.
We lose this perspective a little bit sometimes at the games, especially it's a challenging time of year for us because this is when you get all the exposure and people really come to see you. But at the same time, it's when we're trying to hide the most, right? Because you need to focus, you need to get ready to compete. And so this year with the cuts, it's sort of a unique experience because now, you know, for whatever reason, if you have a bad stumble at the wrong time and you're out, you sort of get this weird ability to actually enjoy the games in a different way.
The reality of it, right? I mean, you know, everyone wants to win gold medals, but only one person gets two, and everyone wanted to be in the top 10, but 133 of us are out here, so can't worry about it too much, just focus on the next thing, and that's the people here, and then it's the off season, and then it's next season.
It's hard, honestly. It's really, really hard, but this makes it easier. At least I thought it would be really hard to show up here today because I'm jealous, man. I'm not done. I feel great. It doesn't feel like the games are over. It's 6 events. My normal 2 days of training is harder than that. So it's odd, but thank you.
You feel kind of cheated. You're like, man, I'm ready to go. I have a lot more to give. But on the other hand, like, I've never been able to do the games like this, right? So this is when the community is all here, and it's fun to be able to actually come out and see them because at most of the time, as much as we'd love to give everybody our time, we can't because we're trying to do a job at the same time, right? So you're sort of playing two sides of a coin. So it's cool. It's an interesting, unique opportunity. So it's fun to take advantage.
I'm okay with cuts. I think it's okay to have cuts at the games. I think maybe we should have not down to 10 that early. I think maybe 20 at least through Saturday. And if you're gonna have it that early, then I would have liked to see, like, this is like regional, 6 events, but then you need to make sure that all of the events are balanced. I think all of the events that we've had are great events. I'm not gonna say anything about the programming because I think it's great events that have been programmed, but I would have wanted a little bit more test before taking it down to 10.
Any number of athletes will say the same thing. You feel like you have a lot more to give, and there's, especially when you see the events that come up, you think, oh, you know, had that come up earlier, you know, I'd be in, and everybody plays through every different scenario, but at the end of the day, like, could I have been better? Should I have been better? Yeah. And, you know, it's the way it is, but you can play the woulda, coulda, shoulda kind of game all day long, but it doesn't do you any good.
It's unfortunate to see those athletes not on the competition floor, but like you said, there is a silver lining in this, and it's really nice to see them getting out there and kind of mixing it up with the fans out there for the workout.
And what true champions, it meant so much to the fans down there on the ground. There was a crowd surrounding the Reebok tent. It was actually a really cool experience. There's been a lot of talk down on the ground here about the changes to the structure. The athletes, you know, they're not backward in coming forward, that they're, I guess, a little bit apprehensive that this is the way that the sport is moving forward. But like they said there, and as Annie was talking before, there was that tiny silver lining that they can get to engage with the fans, which again is an unusual experience for them on day 4 of competition, but they're taking it in this way.
Well, the sport is moving forward, like you said, and we're going to take a look at the team competition now. And The overall standings, we don't have quite a leaderboard that's updated yet. It's still kind of sorting some things out because they have cut down to just 5 teams. I'm going to read out the standings for you guys here. Mayhem Freedom is in first, leading wire to wire. They got a 173-point lead ahead of CrossFit Krypton. Invictus, they move up into 3rd place behind an event win in that last swim event. OC3 Black is in 4th, Central Beast in 5th, and those are your top 5 teams that will finish off the competition here in just a moment. I think we've got one more event to go. What really stands out to you besides Mayhem's dominance?
Yeah, I guess for us, and we've been talking about it for the last day and a half, it's really that battle for 3rd on the podium. We always knew that the team competition with these stacked teams this year was going to be an interesting one. And so even though we have seen that Mayhem Freedom dominance right throughout the weekend, obviously that's story number 1, but in the background there's been playing out this battle for 3rd, and we see that going into the final.
Just 19 points separate 4th in OC3 Black from 3rd place Invictus. So really with 1 placement difference, it's kind of anybody's ball game. Whoever team wins this next event between the 2 of them basically gets the podium. So it should be an exciting race. We're going to move things over to the women's competition now and take a look at your overall standings after 1 event today. The first event was the swim paddle. And once again, Tia Claire Toomey sits atop the leaderboard. She actually wins this event, puts some distance between her and Kristen Holta. She's 135 points ahead of Holta. Jamie Green, Carrie Pierce, both kind of spreading out now. Looks like the top 3 for the women is starting to solidify.
Yeah, absolutely. But the great thing is, and the exciting thing about our sport, you can't take the competitive nature out of these top athletes. And what a great moment that we saw there. Aussie pride here. Matt Mcleod and Tia Claire Toomey right on the line there. I actually spoke to Matt just after the event, and he said to Tia, "Let's not race." She thought he said, "Let's race," and it was on. And it was really cool to see. You know, obviously Matt Mcleod, he's not in contention for those top 2 positions, but you know, he'd won the event, but he still wanted to beat out his fellow countrymen, so it was a really cool thing to see.
Honestly, that's been one of my favorite moments of the weekend, seeing the 2 Aussies get out of the water. Tia kind of sprint ahead and turn and give them the, "Come on, let's go." I love that competitive fire that she carries sometimes, and it's just one of those things that even though they're not technically competing against one another, they did for just that moment. It was a fun little race for the finish, and I think the fans really enjoyed that moment. Taking a look at the men's competition and your standings right now going into the afternoon. Your overall leader, Noah Olson, actually expands his lead in the swim event. He finished ahead of Matt Fraser by 2 placements. That's 20 points based on the spread, so his lead's now 35 points. Jorgen Carl Gudmundsson, solid in 3rd. He's about 43 points ahead of Scott Panchik for the podium. James Newberry still maybe has a chance. Matt Mcleod would have to potentially get an event win and get some hope here to try and push up, but he won that first event, like we said, racing with Tia Claire Toomey, moves him up into 6th. Take a look at this leaderboard. You kind of have to focus a little bit on the race for first, but also for the podium.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the event that's just been announced, the final, well, it's the next event that will be divided into 2, so lots of points on the board here and up for grabs. So it will be interesting to see. It's a sprint style event, so really not only how the first 2 place, but who mixes in between them could really have an impact on the podium and also for that first and second place.
Yeah, really big chance that we could see things shake up once we move inside of the Coliseum in just a few moments. We're going to get you guys out to competition in a little bit. We still got a special guest that's going to come on the show with us in just a second. But a couple nights ago, here in the FITAID Lounge, we had a really special event. It was called the FITAID 1-Ton Challenge. We had a ton of the best lifters in the world showing up to the beer garden to move some weight. And we had a special guest MC in CT Fletcher. We were on the ground covering it for you guys, and we've got some highlights for you, so check it out.
Hell yeah. I'm gonna be tired of motherfuckers just from yelling.
Snatch, clean, jerk, squat, dead, bench, the goal of hitting 2,000 pounds. Yeah, we have an audience that loves lifting weights and coolest people at CrossFit to work with. The fact that we got to actually be at the CrossFit Games because of FITAID is just so great.
Not quite CrossFit, not quite weightlifting, it was something new.
Adrian Conway hits 6 PRs every single lift. He's been training for 25 years.
I came and I was just having fun, honestly. It was a nice way to come off a big meet where it was intense and tough and then just come work out with some guys, just have a good time.
We was throwing around big weights, I mean, that power lifters struggle with, this guy was doing and he did it in every lift. That's incredible to be that strong in every lift.
He lost his arm in a boating accident. He was a professional wakeboarder. I don't know what is adaptive about him.
Yeah, really.
He may not have an arm, but
he lifts more than
I trained with him. Yeah, I trained with him two Tuesdays ago, last week, and he's not adaptive. He kicked my ass. In bodybuilding, it's all about scarcity and competition, and like it's, you know, and here it's more family, where everyone's helping each other and very collaborative.
And we're back inside the FITAID Lounge. We got a special guest with us, the one and only Chandler Smith. Oh, yeah.
Special seems excessive.
Oh, hey, you know, you're special to us, man. Appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate you guys.
So, Chandler, this is your rookie season at the CrossFit Games. Coming in, we talked to you at the athlete dinner, Brittany did, and you mentioned that you just wanted to get past that first cut. But I'm going to say you outperformed that by quite a bit. What was that initial experience walking out into the competition floor like?
So I feel like it wasn't as intimidating this time around as maybe it was at Rogue, and I'm super grateful that I had that as an experience to draw from, but also the training camps leading into the games with Noah, Travis, Anthony Haynes, a couple of those guys. It kind of let me be a little more prepared. So the wide-eyed moments had already occurred like months and weeks before I got out here, so I was really able to have a clear head, and I knew that was going to be a good event for me, so I wasn't distracted, and I got to execute, and actually ended up being my first event was my best performance, which probably is not like the case for most athletes who come to the games. I think kind of lucked out there.
Hey, started off with a bang, right?
Yes.
Not a bad way to get things going.
Follow with a whimper, but yeah.
Hey, you know, no one pays attention after that. You just got to start strong.
Yeah.
But this kind of performance here at the games has been kind of the culmination of a long journey for you. 2016, we got to see you at regionals. Epic moment on the deadlifts. It was one of the highlights. It kind of burst you into the public eye a little bit. But then the last couple of years, you kind of had a little back and forth, some things to deal with, you know, with your hand and, you know, being an active military member. Can you tell me what it's like to kind of go through all that and then finally get to the CrossFit Games, which is a goal that you had written out for, I think, a few years from now?
So I originally wrote it in 2012 as like a 10-year goal. Like I said, if I apply some talent to it, I can make it by 2022. And then in 16, I was like, felt the pressure to kind of move that goal to the left a little bit. And then the finger happened, I was deployed and all that jazz. So all those things kind of really tested my resolve. There was a lot of moments where I was like, do I really want to continue to pour this much effort into it? Because it's going to be so difficult with, you know, missing a part of my finger, or I can get further along in work if I'm focusing, like directing all my efforts towards that, or just, you know what I mean? I think it's hard for everybody, but there's a lot of times where time was really constrained, and it was like, am I really going to make the conscious decision to focus on fitness over other things? And I think in the moment, those decisions were really hard, but now looking back, it seems like, of course, it was the obvious choice, but I'm just really happy I ended up making those decisions to kind of stick with it, because I did not want to, and I think the end result has made it worth it. Like getting to shake the hands, meet all the people that I've got to meet this weekend, like that alone has made this experience of a lifetime, so couldn't be more grateful.
Well, we're glad you do. And so are the fans. You started out as a fan of the sport. What does it mean to have people lining up to take your photo who are proud to call you a mate and to call you, you know, one of their fans?
It's probably the coolest role reversal imaginable, and I think it sticks with me a lot because I realized how much those moments meant to me when I was starting off. Like back in 2016, I had the chance to work with Jacob Hepner. I got a chance to work with Travis and Noah that year. So all these games guys who I hadn't really, like, I just been watching from afar, and those moments were huge to me, and they really helped influence how I approach the sport for the next few years. So the fact that those guys were able to influence me in such a positive way means that every time I have one of those interactions, I'm potentially doing the same thing for somebody else. So I realize like the weight that those meetings can have on building someone's career or maybe changing their life in a positive direction. So I really like try and take the time to make those interactions as genuine and positive as possible, because they can do so much. And we've heard a lot from the veterans of the sport about the structure this year. As a rookie, how do you weigh in on it? So the whole sport, like I came into it, I started doing CrossFit in 2010, and like the unknown and unknowable catchphrase was probably a little bit bigger back then. And I think whenever things, there's definitely programming that could have better suited me, and I think it's the same with any athlete, but regardless, like the test is the test. So we're here at the games. We got here. Everyone mostly has the same skills because the test leading up to this, we're testing the same, basic type of fitness. So I don't feel like I was at a disadvantage or that anything's really that different, but I also haven't been here before. So to me, like, this is the CrossFit Games. It's stuff that I wouldn't have expected, but I wasn't going to expect it anyways. Like, it's all tangentially related to fitness as we have experienced it before, so not too different. So I really have no complaints. I wish I would have done better, but now I just know there's some more things I got to work on. It gives me some focus for the next season.
And so one thing I want to touch on is the emblem on your chest right now, the U.S. Army Warrior Fitness Team, which you are, basically the proud kind of leader of, I feel like, at the forefront, being the first athlete from the team to make it to the CrossFit Games. Can you tell me a little bit about your role with the team and what that kind of support looks like for you?
So the support is probably the biggest piece of the team that's been helpful. So they help. We're like a recruiting initiative, right? Within the United States, there's been increasingly less military-age males and females who are able to join the Army and immediately be able to make it through basic training or come in with a base of fitness that'll make them effective soldiers quickly. So we are kind of just getting out in the space to show people, to be able to recruit those fit people and be like, hey, there's options for you within the United States Army, give them exposure so that way they have an understanding of what they can do in the Army. But also we're showing the level of fitness that soldiers are able to reach. I pride myself, and I think this past week, I ran pretty fast. I pride myself on being a good runner, but within the Army, I'm not that fast. There's a whole lot of soldiers who are extremely capable physical individuals. We spend a lot of time building up an education across all levels of the Army, from lower soldiers to officers and everybody else. Everyone has a good idea of how to build fitness, and those concepts make for people who are very fit despite the distractions and breaks in training that come as part of the job. So we're just kind of here representing to show that within the Army there is a very high degree of fitness that maybe that doesn't get to be expressed because folks are busy doing their jobs that are taking them away from competitions and the ability to compete, but we're just kind of trying to showcase the capabilities of the American soldier.
And I thought you did a great job of showcasing that. But one thing I wanted to ask you, I got to ask you now.
Yes, sir.
I know the Army has a new fitness test, right?
Yeah.
Right now, Ryan Souter has the top score. Is that something you're going to take down in 2020?
Yes. Wherever you're at, Ryan. Yeah, absolutely.
You had it here
600 ACFT is coming.
Oh, man, that's a perfect score, right?
Yes.
Oh, man, I love how you look right at the camera.
I want to make sure he knows that. I haven't had a chance to talk to him about it yet, but yeah.
That's great.
If I'm going to take the test, I'm going to slam it home, so 600.
I love it, man. And so now looking forward to 2020, first year at the CrossFit Games, you kind of get to take stock a little bit, evaluate how this season went. What can we expect from Chandler Smith next year?
You can expect an athlete who's better at gymnastics. You can expect an athlete who is going to be more universally positive. I think I started off this season planning on going team, and I went to Dubai on a team with some individuals who are here competing, and same thing at Wadapalooza. And my mindset at that time was probably not the best for myself. It wasn't as positive, and I think I was not as capable of responding to negatives and positives as I am now. And the main reason that change has occurred is because I've been hanging around a better group of individuals who have experience in the sport. My coach, Dex Hopkins and Seth from Misfit, they both help keep me even keel. And then Noah, who's been having a phenomenal weekend, right? Hanging out with him and seeing how he conducts himself in competitions has kind of allowed me to emulate that. And my performances over the last two big ones, Rogue and here, has mostly been a function not of anything different I've been doing physically, but just the fact that I have a better handle on what's going on in my head. So now that I've found out how to do that, I'm mostly looking forward to competitions as a way to see if I can continue to replicate maintaining control over the mental side, and then who knows what that's going to be able to take me physically. But I'm really optimistic that's going to allow me to do well enough in the Open or in the Sanctional to qualify again, and then do well enough back here to do better than I did this year.
Love to hear it, man. And again, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. It's always a pleasure catching up, man.
It's awesome.
Guys, that's going to do it for us here at the Morning Chalk Up Show presented by FITAID. We still have some announcements coming up in the next round of individual competition. So we're done it for here today. We're going to come back later this evening to wrap everything up for you guys. With Tommy Marquez, Brittany Klein, and our old pal Chandler Smith. We'll see you guys a little bit later.
Be Navy.
I love it.
Always.